Hi, my name's Ryan. In this video, I'm going to show you the very first steps that you should take if you've just signed up for GoHighLevel. In this video, I want to show you around 5 to 6 crucial things that you should do first, from number 1, selecting the right pricing plan. There are 3 plans. We're going to go through each of those in detail in this video. Which plan is right for you and why. You can make those decisions straight away. We're going to talk about the white labeling option of GoHighLevel and whether or not you yourself should use it. And there's a couple of different variations on the white labeling option. There's the white labeling of the domain and access, and then there's various other branded points to your domain that you can choose to opt in to or not. I'm not going to go into massive amounts of detail on rebilling and things like that. There's going to be a video on that in the link at the end of this video. But I am going to show you what you would need to do to get up and running with a website that's linked to your own domain. I'm going to show you how to get us up and running for SMS, two-way SMS, and integrated into things like your social media accounts. We're all going to do this in around 10 minutes or so strap in. We're going to go through the screen share step by step. Here we go. Let's go 10 minutes to set up GoHighLevel. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to GoHighLevel and grab a trial. Use the link in the description below. There should also be, there's one for a 14-day, and there's also one for an extended 30-day, or there should be. And you're going to want to go through these steps and sign up. So now, the pricing is important. If you intend to have more than 3 accounts, more than 3 sub-accounts, then you want to go on the $297 or above. The $97 plan will give you 3 accounts. So if you're a business and you're looking to deploy this as an operating system / CRM / marketing automation system, just for you and your business, that's the plan you want to be on. If you are trying to get other customers to use this as a multi-tenanted, white-labeled system that you're on selling, and you want to be on $297 or $497. Making the distinction between the $297 and the $497 is going to be covered in a different video. It'll be at the end of this one, so make sure you click on that for a much deeper breakdown. But right now, if you're in this position, then you can start on $297. There is no need to jump to the $497 unless you are trying to be extremely accelerated and build a SaaS company within sort of 30 days or so. My recommendation, start on $297. If you're a business, $97 is going to do you. And in fact, I would say 9 out of 10 cases, the $97 is going to be fine for you. So once you've got that, you're going to head on over into your application. Now, there is a desktop application as of the time of the recording. It will hopefully improve speed and performance once you're up and running. But once we're in here, we are now using this as the domain that we access, right? So what we need to do, or what we should want to do, is we should want to update it so that it isn't using the app.gohighlevel.com domain anymore. So one of the first things we're going to do is we're going to talk to you about how to white label software. And even if you're only using it for your own business, it's good practice to not be logging into app.gohighlevel because a lot of ecosystem partners, vendors, and suppliers will be able to very readily access your system by using your white label URL. So once you have done that, you want to log in and you want to go to your settings. So on the left-hand side navigation, you're going to want to go to the settings area, and then you're going to click on company. Let's just move my face out there. So you can see here that there is a white label section here. I was doing this for a friend recently who owns this business. I'm sure you won't mind. Now we've got the white label domains, which we need to put in here. So the first one is the white label domain. It literally gives you the instructions on how to do this. It sort of takes a long time for them to kind of go through it. To speed that process up, I'm going to show you exactly what I would do. So if I wanted, say, crm.voxility.ai to be the white label domain that I'm going to use to access my high level, what I would do is I would come into wherever I manage my DNS. Now, you can do this manually, or you could potentially do this through just going through, select this, say, crm.facility.ai, and then when I hit add, it'll actually check to see what provider I use in the domain. And then if it can manually insert or upsert, whatever language you want to use, those records into your DNS provider for you. Now, this works for Cloudflare, and it also works for GoDaddy. I'm not too sure if it works for Google domains, and it probably will not work for something like Wix or one of those other sort of third-party SiteMinder and so on. So it's good to know how to do this manually. It tells you exactly what to do when you click add manually. And here we've got the record that we want to put in, which is CNAME. The host gives you the prefix. So we're not actually creating a subdomain. This is just a prefix. And then the required value. Now, if you just copy this little tick, then I'm going to go over here. I'm going to add a record. Then the type is going to be CNAME. The host name is whatever you want it to be. So if I wanted this to be banana.voxility when I type it into Google, then the only thing I put here is everything before the root domain. So if my root domain is voxility.ai, I put whatever before the dot. I don't even have to put the dot. And then the target, of course, I paste GoHighLevel.ludicrous.cloud, and I don't want to proxy this. And the time to live I can leave as automatic. As soon as you hit save on this one, that is all that is required to white label your GoHighLevel instance that is up and running. So you would click verify records and it would be ready to rock. So once we've done that, of course, we then switch to, say, mine, which is app.funnel.me, which is just an internal domain that I use. It's not a public facing one. As you can see here, I've got the Voxility logo rather than the HighLevel logo. I didn't really do many changes to the look and feel of it because it didn't really matter to me. I'm not a design person. I don't really care. But the other thing that we want to do is we want to white label or brand the links. So this is the API domain, which brands all the links that are generated across your sub account, like things, forms, calendars, etc., etc. So why would we do that, right? Well, whenever you send an email to someone, let's just say you've got a newsletter, and in the newsletter, it's call to action with a button, and the button says book here. If you're doing any sort of tracking where you want to track the number of clicks and you need a piece of software that sits in the middle, which is essentially like redirecting the traffic so that it knows how many times those links have been clicked, the only way to do that so that you avoid the spam filters is to brand those links. Otherwise, you're going to end up with a string, the length of your arm, if not more, of all these alphanumeric characters that make no sense, and that is going to be the worst enemy of spam filters and so on. And so you definitely want to do this. And again, it's really easy to do. It tells you exactly what value to put in here. So it tells you exactly what all the information is. It says that you can use the domain connect wizard, like I just mentioned, if it's GoDaddy or one of these other ones. And it says to use brand.ludicrous.cloud as a CNAME record. So if I was again doing that in Cloudflare, I would come here, I would add a new record of type CNAME. I would type in the word brand, and I would put brand.ludicrous.cloud, and I would take off proxy. And of course, this would be the same setting if you were using GoDaddy or one of those other type ones. And as soon as you hit save, of course, then you're able to verify. And once it's verified, you're good to go. Now, you probably won't really ever see this come into play until you send an email, which was driven from a template or an SMS that you were linking to a calendar. And it's the end user receiving that, the recipient that's receiving that information that sees those links when they click on those links. So those are two really important things to do. White labeling is a preference. I think it's best practice. You can stay on app.GoHighLevel if you're just using it for your business forever. A lot of people in 297 stay on that. That's fine. But adding the branded domain is probably the more important of the two. The only problem with keeping it as app.GoHighLevel is if you have an issue and you want someone to fix it, you're going to have to know your agency ID number. So going back to company, the relationship number here, super important. If you're talking to support, talking to growthable support, whatever, we always want to know the relationship number there. The other interesting thing here is then looking at phone integration. So the ability to set up two-way SMS, again, for sub-accounts, you're going to probably want to use out of the box the LC phone system. Now, if you've got a mix like I do, you'll see that I've got this switch all sub-accounts to LC. You've also got a whole bunch of notifications. This is from my American friends around whether or not they're able to use different parts of the LC phone system by default in the sub-accounts if they're getting it. And again, whether or not you want to impose limits on SMS as well. So some of those settings are pretty interesting, turning those on or off. But at the agency setting level, I'm choosing LC. So I've got it connected to lead connector. And if this is because I've already got it set up, but you want to go through, set it up, and you can see here that you've got the connect to LC phone quick link, and that'll tell you which sub account to connect to LC phone because it doesn't get set up at the agency level or the parent level. It gets set up for each account that it's using. Now, you could, of course, go direct to Twilio or use some sort of third party. My advice, if you're watching this video and you're brand new to setup, stick with LC. The safety measurements and things like that, the A2P submissions, if you're in America, the regulatory compliance submissions for Australia are all baked in. They all work really well out of the box. Some people might say to you, it's expensive to use, and relatively speaking, it could be true. I don't think that it is when it should be considered a return on investment. So if your SMS costs are $50, but you're generating 50 appointments, well then who cares, right? So once you've got the phone integration, you probably want to also send email. Again, I suggest using the LC email. And this one takes the same method that we used for setting up the ability to connect our branded domain through DNS. And what we're going to do is we're going to use LC as our default provider. And so what you would do is you would click add service. You would choose, so for instance, if I was using, say, SMTP, I could go direct to Mailgun. I'm using the default provider, which is the LC system. So when I get to a sub account, I'm going to be able to use the LC system by default. So when I get into a sub account, so let's just say you've got your own sub account here. Let me just go into my one, which is Facility. To be able to send and receive emails, you want to be inside the sub account itself. Then we want to go to settings. Then we want to go to our email services here. I want to go to our dedicated domain and IP. So from here, you would add a new domain. And of course, like there are better ways, faster ways of doing this through the agency settings and so on. But again, what you would do is you would do a prefix, right? So try not to use prefixes that would normally be reserved, like mail or anything like that. A common one is MG, stands for mail gun. It's kind of become infamous because HighLevel used mail gun. I might just do the word like reply to, right? And then dot, and then I'm going to put Voxility, and then I'm going to do .ai, right? So this is going to be my sending domain. Because it's on a prefix, it's technically on a subdomain. The reason that you don't use a root domain is because if there's negative or a lot of bounces, spams, and so on with your list, the email sending reputation of that domain will decrease massively. And if that's your root domain, that's a bad situation to be in. So that's the whole reason that we use sending domains that aren't root domains. You're ready to click add and verify that what you want to do is it's going to then do all the MX, SPF, TXT, and so on records. Again, you can try to do this automatically through the domain wizard if you're using Cloudflare and so on. Click continue and see if that's possible. Otherwise, it tells you to add all these records manually. So here you can see record type TXT. So this is how we would go through it. The host name, we would go to copy, then we would go here, add a record. We would find the TXT type, and then for the name, we would paste that. And then in the content, we would go back, oh, where was I? And we would grab that as the value, like so. Now it's already talking about the fact that it's got one because I already have it, but you would go through this in sequence and you would do the text record and then you would add it in. You would then add the next text record, which is the prefix applied to with the value here, the C name. And they're all slightly different, right? MX, which stands for mail exchange, or it's short for mail exchange. Those ones are probably the more important ones. That's MXA, MXB. There's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of these. And once you've done that, you click verify. If it seems like it's not verified the first time, just hit verify one more time and off you go. What you can do then is once you've got your dedicated domain connected, it'll do different types of warm-ups by default. And there'll be different penalties if you go beyond certain thresholds. Apart from this, there could be a need to set up the domain configuration so that when you send a calendar link, do you want it to use the same domain as one where you might send text-to-pay links? Or when you're having a conversation via email in the universal inbox, do you use the same one? When you send something through a workflow? And because these are all sort of fairly transactional, the answer could be yes. But when you're having a one-on-one conversation, you might say, well, no, I actually want to use my root domain. So it looks like it's coming from Ryan at Voxility and not some subdomain in there. So it's more of a two-way conversation rather than a one-to-one conversation. That's the only time that you might change that there as well. Having said that, now that you've done that, you can then set up your first funnel. So again, be inside a sub account, go to the sites section, choose one of the sites. So let's just say you wanted to build your website. Here's one I created earlier. We pull one up. Now, this is a website. It has absolutely no content whatsoever. It's a blank page. I'm going to create from blank. And it's just going to be a blank website. So it loads what you see is what you get editor. Here, of course, I could have used a template or I could generate with AI. So let me just skip through this, because what I really want to do is I want to connect the domain. And so I might have, again, subdomain or prefix. I'm going to say get. And this is exactly why HighLevel is referred to as GoHighLevel, because they used a prefix called Go in front of their domain. So what we want to do is we want to click on that. And so with this one, it says, okay, great. Well, we want to connect the domain. How do we do that? You simply click that button. Takes you through to domains. You input the domain. So let's just say I'm going to do go.voxility.ai. And then we're going to click continue. And again, it gives you all the information. So this is sites.ludicrous.cloud with the host name Go. So back over to your Cloudflare, of course, you would go and add a new CNAME record with Go, with sites. You would not proxy it, you would hit save. Then you would come back through and hit verify. And then once that is verified, you can click connect and choose from the drop down the domains that you have verified. That means that you can start generating your websites and funnels with AI or from templates straight away, and you'll be connected, ready to roll. So what's next? We're going to show you how to get up and running with social media accounts, getting direct messages from things like Facebook and Instagram, two-way SMS. But first, we need to go through the regulatory approval. I'm going to show you that in the next video, which should be linked somewhere at the end of this video. So go and watch that for the next steps on setting those bits up. But that, my friends, is exactly what you would do in the first 20 minutes with a blank slate GoHighLevel account. Click the link below if you want to sign up with my account, get all the bundles, courses, etc., bonuses. I have 100 snapshots. We have all the gear there. Click like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.